1, 2, 3, 4. Woo! That's that sound. Wow. That's that sound.
Amazing.
What's going on, everybody? How we doing?
It is even more powerful in person. Well,
thank you.
Kind of.
Thank you. Did you hear Sam and I's improv song last time? I'm disappointed that he's working on other projects today because I think this whole podcast should actually just turn into a musical.
Hey,
I'm down for it.
I love musicals.
Yeah, let's do it. I can't sing, but I'm down still. I'll totally do it.
Not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan of musicals. I made it like halfway through Hamilton.
Then you've never seen Mamma Mia, clearly.
Hamilton.
I mean, I will finish Hamilton at some point, but it was late.
Honestly, a musical about the American Revolution sounds like the most boring thing in the world.
Right, so
then we beat the British. It was pretty cool.
I'm surrounded by artistic people who love Hamilton so much, and I watched it. I could not get into it whatsoever.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is the best community theater thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
Community theater at the highest level.
It feels like a community theater production of like some like narcissist like made this musical in order to star himself.
Yeah.
And then like it became like the biggest musical of all time. And I mean it is. That's what happened.
Well,
is it bigger than Cats?
Lin-Manuel Miranda?
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
Really?
I'd rather see.
I'm going to write myself a musical called Hamilton, starring myself as Hamilton, directed by myself.
Hamilton, whose name is Hamilton.
Hamilton. I'd rather see the SpongeBob musical. I'm gonna say that right now.
Dang.
And I actually really want to see that movie. I mean, musical.
I did find the showing on Disney of Hamilton to be interesting in how they edited it, because they very obviously had multiple takes. They had takes where they had like the camera on stage next to the performer and whatnot, and it cuts together so perfectly because it's like they have the entire like 2.5 hour play like as a perfect take. So imagine like having a scene, you're ready to record it, and you're like, all right, now go, and they just give you 2.5 hours of perfection.
Yeah, they freaking.
And then you're like, okay. Now for a different angle. Now for this third angle. Now for the close-up.
Yeah, they did it over the course of like multiple days too, right? So
I would have to assume, because it's like I imagine you could probably only do
productions,
like. Yeah. I imagine you can only do one of those things in a day.
Yeah.
Before the actors are just like, I'm.
The layer of sweat would just be too.
Imagine though
too
if you were like
powerful.
the audience that like was the Steadicam audience, and then you're just like, oh great, there's the Steadicam guy in the middle of our performance of Hamilton. What a great performance!
So that's what I was wondering. I think I'm willing to bet that all of the performances we see from that showing of Hamilton, there is no audience, and they just recorded the audience audio on one of their showings without any camera equipment, and they just
I don't know.
No, they
You think
did
it would
record
sync
with
up?
the audience once. I don't know how I know that, but I know that they did do one full recording with cameras.
Well, I mean,
and
I'm sure they could have done that, but not the one where there's like a camera guy flying through the middle of the set.
They did that where it was like the classic backed off thing.
So
This
right
is a
now,
Hamilton
right now,
podcast so.
Yeah, go finish.
right now they're piping in sound from the audio or from the crowd in the MLB games right now.
Oh, really? No way.
It's a little weird. It's a little weird. I don't know.
It's like a freaking sitcom for sports.
I mean,
it's kind of there's like a sitcom track.
Yeah.
That would probably sound just more familiar because I mean I've seen like professional wrestling right now with just nobody in the audience, and it's just like the spookiest thing to watch. It's like almost like a daytime.
Yeah,
like,
UFC has no one in the audience too right now, and it's pretty eerie when there's like a big move, and then like you can hear the trainers and stuff like yelling, but there's no crowd. Somebody should figure that out. Somebody should get on that and come up with an app where people can just pipe in their audio, and then that gets piped into the actual like arena.
It's all like screwed though, like it's really bad.
Some guy just
will break that so fast.
Some guy would just like output positive 48 like decibels, just like running into the audio line.
Oh god, yeah, they'd have to come up with some troll prevention mechanism. But
personally, I'm really intrigued by the return of the NBA because they're going to be filming all of their games in one stadium with all of the teams present.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're in Florida, I think.
Yeah. And they're all like on hardcore lockdown. They're all practicing together, so it's basically just a giant NBA camp where everyone's hanging out together. And so, but they're also still trying to be competitive because these are actual games that are on the line. So I'm really intrigued to see how that's going to play out.
Well, the weird thing for them was that they had to stop midway through their season.
Yeah.
And so they're picking up their play records from March and then now continuing with those play records for like another, I don't know how long. But
Madness.
yeah.
I blacked out. What sport are we talking about?
Basketball.
Okay, got it.
It's July
The
Madness,
shooty hoopy
guys.
one,
The shooty hoopy one.
Yeah.
The shooty hoopy one.
Yeah. It's my favorite one. The shooty hoopy sports one. Yeah.
All right.
Basketball's
we haven't
pretty much
even
the only sport I really.
we haven't even done
care
intros yet. Who's on the podcast?
Oh,
today?
Oh yeah.
what's
Hey,
up? My
there's
name
some
is
people
Wren.
we're talking. That's Wren. I'm Matt.
I'm Nat, not to be confused with Matt.
We got Matt and Nat.
It's real close.
Matt
Matt and
Matt
Nat,
and
the
Nat,
best,
Matt and Nat,
best
Matt and
comedy
Nat.
duo.
That's right. That's what we do best. Jerry Seinfeld. Let's go back with Jerry.
Matt and
Rat-tat, rat-tat, Nat and Matt. All right, so today's topic is timeless debates, timeless battles across human pop culture and human history. And we're going to go through our take on a few of these and just go with it. We're by no means experts on any of these topics. So this is all just for fun. So for y'all listening, just come along, have a little fun with us and tell us, what you think in the comments as we explore some of these simple but fun debates.
No matter what we're going to talk about, I'm a complete expert in that field, and I am not wrong.
Correct. I am always right about everything,
right.
and I do not.
There
take
is
back
one.
anything I
There
say.
is one field I'm an expert in, and that's the field of today's sponsor being sponsored by Storyblocks.
Storyblocks! Hey, dude, I actually legitimately love Storyblocks. I use it on almost every video that I make.
So we're gonna get to that, and I swear I'm still a pro, even though I said today's sponsor is sponsored by Storyblocks. I meant today's episode. It's okay. We'll get to that later.
I didn't even catch that.
Let's get to the first topic, okay,
Sponsor
guys?
exception.
The first topic is a relatively new one in human history. In fact, it's about humans. Robots or humans? That's the first topic.
Robots
So just-
or humans?
Just if they are robots or humans, are you just going to show us a collection of slides?
Yeah,
and we have to determine if they're robots or humans.
This is the perfect robot test. Is it robot? Is it human?
Is it robot or is it human? Which one?
Click on all the squares that
I
contain
don't
a
know,
robot.
guys.
A robot or
I think
human.
that I think we can reach a center point here. Cyborgs. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Middle
Dude,
ground.
I built a
sort of.
cyborg.
Yeah, don't immediately Philly D this and go for the center point. Let's talk about the
I
ends
don't
of
know,
the
guys.
spectrum.
There's an answer in the middle for everything. Robots
If you
or
had to
humans.
pick, robots or humans, what would
Robots.
you pick? Robots?
Robot-human hybrids, cyborgs.
No. Just
Not-
for the sake
not
of
a
the game,
possibility?
play the game. Just make a choice.
Okay. I like humans.
I'm team humans.
Yeah, I like humans.
All right, well,
But
I'm gonna go with robots then. It's 2v2.
2v2.
Yeah.
Debate that.
Now robots. Here's the thing about robots. Their precision is beyond any human comparison, and I think for that reason alone,
what is
Bro.
robots win.
Bro, you ready for this though? Ready for this?
Okay. Yeah.
Humans made robots, so they wouldn't exist without humans.
Consider the following: in the future, robots will make humans.
Oh yeah, and see that's a question
That
because
is
think about
speculation,
humans.
actually.
Think
No,
about
no,
humans
we
who
have
need a
fact.
robot to survive already.
We don't.
And I mean robots a little bit more like generically,
We are-
like
we are in the middle-
technology.
like machines.
We're in the middle
tools.
of a
Machines,
pandemic,
yeah, machines.
And people are being put on robots to survive.
That's
I
true.
literally
Literally mounted on top of a robot.
Yep.
But I don't need
They
to
open
have
up
a
a
robot
slot,
to
insert the
you.
human, and close the door.
Now, hold on though, because you
Okay.
can survive without any machines or tools. You just would be a lower life form.
Wait,
You'd be
no,
you'd be a
don't,
devolved life form.
Matt, don't do this.
What do you
Well,
mean?
we wouldn't.
People with disabilities are not lower life.
No, I'm not talking about disability. What are you talking about?
Well,
You're
that's
bringing
a
it into
machinery.
disabilities?
How are you
Wait
supposed
a
to
minute.
survive?
No.
Humans
I'm
would
saying
still
like
survive without
monkeys.
robots.
Monkeys. They don't use tools. You were baiting me. This is how you win. This is how you win arguments right here. I see you. I see what you're doing.
Listen, humans would still survive
I want to.
if there weren't robots, but robots would also survive if there weren't humans.
That's true.
I want
Yeah.
to change
Not
my
yet.
answer to robots so that any robots in the future watching this podcast won't, be angry at me posthumously. And
Oh wait, what's that called?
kill all
Isn't
my
there a theory
descendants.
for that? They went over this in Silicon Valley one time.
Oh, like yeah. I know what you're talking about. It's not like robot apologists. It's like it's trying to be on like the
robot
good side of
apologists.
Oh,
whatever
okay.
potential future robot overlooks.
A robot simp.
That's always
A
been my
simp
plan.
bot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, someday
Okay.
we're gonna have robot girlfriends and boyfriends. It's gonna be a grand old time. Okay.
Wait,
fully
wait.
integrated.
Okay, that brings us perfectly into the next topic. Can a robot love?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Yes?
Not right now.
Yes.
Not right now, though. Eventually. right?
Eventually, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, love is just an emotion, and emotion is just a pre-programmed series of synapses firing in your brain that, in essence, can be binary code that you can translate to a computer. Just no one's figured out how to do that yet.
If
So
we
in
were
the future,
to-
theoretically,
Yeah.
we
If
can
we were to
absolutely
eventually-
simulate emotions.
If we were eventually to emulate human emotion on a machine, then it would be, for the most part, to our understanding, exactly a one-for-one mapping of how the human brain operates, which the human brain in itself is just a computer.
Yeah.
It's a meat computer, but it's a computer.
So you think the
So-
human brain is capable of being broken down into absolute binary code?
So it's going to be different than how we understand it, and also it's not necessarily going to be binary. There's also like quantum computing. There's all sorts of different like ways that could be gone about it. We might be able to use like synapses in the future, like artificial synapses. So
yeah. I mean, yeah.
Like electronic synapses?
It's hard to understand how it'll end up looking because no one's gotten there yet.
Yeah.
But if
there's
if
no
it,
like blueprint or roadmap
if
for
it
it right
were
now.
an AI that were more intelligent than us, then ostensibly it would be able to feel love in some sort of capacity.
Even if it is maybe just our preconceived notion of what love is.
Well,
Right.
yeah.
I think you guys have a very pessimistic view of love.
Well,
That's
but
what I
I
think.
mean, Jake, I live in Los Angeles. Of course I do.
I've got a question for you all. This right here is
okay.
a cell phone. I got a text message.
thank you.
Would you consider this a robot?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I would.
It's got robot-like qualities.
It doesn't have mechatronics,
I would say.
but it's a robot. Yeah.
And a lot of that roboticism comes from just computing. I abandoned that thought halfway through talking.
Okay, so your phone machine learns for you your daily like habits. It can be it can do a lot of thinking for you because a lot of it is like automation and calendars and a lot of things that you would normally not be like having on your mind constantly now that we've offloaded it onto your phone. So it is doing a task for you, therefore.
That's true, and you can sync it to different other applications, which then it allows it to like capture information from those other applications and input it into new ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty robotic.
So also there's the fact of like, you know, Siri or whatever Ask Google is. What's that?
Google Assistant.
Google Assistant, thank you. And but none of that processing is actually taking place on your phone. That's all taking place in the cloud, and your phone is just relaying that information. So
Right.
that aspect of it, of the AI aspect on your phone is just a vessel, but the AI is out there.
There's
singular
So maybe
Well, no,
maybe
there's
we're just a
onboard
vessel
machine
for
learning, too.
love, you
a little
guys.
bit, sure, but
Have you ever
most
thought
of
about
the,
that?
Most like Siri doesn't work if you don't have an internet connection.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that was interesting. Okay, let's move on.
So hold on. I got
You might
one
as well
more
have just
thing.
said nice.
I got one more
Wait,
thing.
hold on, Jake. We didn't hear the opposite side of this.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
sorry. Go ahead.
You're suppressing our viewpoints. Right?
My bad.
Probably.
Matt, go for it, Matt.
No, yeah, I think I've said my piece. Ren, what is your on the human side? Are we still doing the human thing?
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
we're,
Is that
we're
what's
still
going on
there.
here?
We're still there.
What? Like, I almost started doing a Jan impression there.
What's the deal with humans?
What is the time frame are we talking about here? Are we talking now or in the future?
I don't know. It's not
Love
always
you, Jay.
clear.
But like, okay, because if we're talking right now or the immediate future, I'm humans all the way because humans are interesting. They do cool stuff. You know, they have empathy. They also have stupidity, which I would prefer a little less of.
We're capable of very high highs and very low lows,
Yeah,
and
humans
that's
are
what
cool.
makes us
Humans
very
are
unique.
Yeah. And humans build robot. Mic drop.
Before we go any further, I've got to tell you guys about today's awesome sponsor, Storyblocks. It's the one-stop shop for all of your stock asset needs. That means After Effects templates, video B-roll, audio assets. You look at the clips, you say, hey, I want this footage of the truck going down the street. I'm gonna download it, and then I'm gonna put it in my video, and then I'm gonna upload my video, and I don't have to worry about a thing because it's all royalty-free and it's all super high quality, meaning that you don't have to worry about, oh, can I use this in my commercial, or can I use this in my podcast? If it's on the site, you just download it and you use it, and the best thing about the subscription that they have is that you can get unlimited amounts of downloads, and that's why we use it over here at Corridor, because with a team across multiple channels, multiple editors, multiple people working on videos all the time, you need a place where you can just go and have access to those sort of assets, and Storyblocks does exactly that. So if you guys are just amateur video creators just looking to make something for fun, or if you're a professional creator looking to improve and add another tool to your toolkit, consider Storyblocks. There's a link in the description below, or you guys can go to storyblocks.com/corridorcast to sign up. That's storyblocks.com/corridorcast. Anyway, back to the podcast. And that was our sponsored segment right there. So thanks to Storyblocks for helping us avoid a lot of other jank through their high quality premium slate of all the stock assets you might need. Okay, anyways, guys, on to the next topic. I think we've solved robots and humans. Let's move on.
Humans win,
we
obviously.
have solved
We've
humans.
solved the problem.
Yes. Humans win.
Humans have been solved.
This one evolves the topic of humans and robots. Determinism or free will?
It's Nat's favorite topic.
Determinism.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Wait. Let's go around the room. Go around the room. Determinism for Nat. Wren?
Oh man, I like free will.
Free will. All right. Matt?
But I don't know what, like, these aren't questions. This is dumb.
These
How
aren't
is that
questions.
supposed
This
to...
is the point. This is the point. Like, let's just go with it and just see where it leads and just have fun with
Then
it. I don't
free
want to.
will. Absolutely.
You're going
Okay,
free
free
will?
will. All right.
You're going free will. I maybe take a hybrid stance because I can see.
No hybrids.
That's
no hybrids.
That's called a third philosophy called compatibilism, and it's
No
junk.
No hybrids.
It's junk. It's garbage. I'm throwing it away. Forget what I think. Okay, fine. I'm going full-blown determinism then. Full-blownsies.
Woo! All right. I'm going full blown free will.
Full-blown
That's
free
it.
will. Okay, wow. All right.
Okay,
All right. Who wants to
The
start?
sides have crossed.
I got this. Okay.
Yeah.
So every
Now you got this.
interaction that ever happens is a cause to effect interaction. Therefore, from the beginning of the Big Bang to now has been a series of events that are either random or just chaotic in such a way that created all of existence that we know now. Therefore, our brains are nothing more than meat machines, computers that are making input-output responses based upon previous stimuli. Therefore, we have no free will because everything is just a chemical reaction that is a reaction from previous stimuli. So, we do not have free will, even if you feel like we have free will, because there's no quantum state in our brain that creates a physical reaction that is any different from our preconceived notions, thoughts, feelings, normal norms, what have you.
See, here's the thing. You're answering, which one do we have? I'm answering, I like the words free will.
Okay. So you have
Which
no
words
stance.
sound nicer? I like
Free
I
will
like,
is a lovely, fluffy little
yeah,
word, isn't
you know,
it?
they're the
Yeah.
best of words.
But do you agree with
My
that,
friend
though?
Will, he needs to
Do
be
you
free.
agree that
Yeah.
like makes
Dude, Will's
sense?
been incarcerated for too long. Free will.
Free will.
Free
We
will.
gotta get
Free
shirts
will.
that say free will, dude.
Hey, so what
Very
about
close to the
what
movie
about
Free
when
Will.
you have a choice? What about when you have a legitimate choice on something?
You
like
don't
I have a
have any-
choice to wear a black shirt or a blue shirt. What? That's a choice, right?
Okay, so the choices are predetermined by you owning a black shirt or a blue shirt. Therefore, those are the limited choices, and you might have a predisposition towards a certain kind of shirt built into your brain that you do not know of before you even start to take the action. Therefore,
But if you
it's
don't
not a
know of
choice.
it, then
It's
What?
like, but
does
like,
it matter if you don't know of it?
So even if you rolled a dice, that would still be a physical interaction of certain like factors, gravity, inertia, what have you, creating your choice for you. You're not making the choice randomly. Your brain is making that choice. Your brain is a physical object that is making that choice.
yeah.
So there's
I mean,
a
yeah,
mathematical certainty that this thing is going to happen 100% of the time based upon predetermined factors.
How do you come up with preconceived notions if without free
Repeated
will?
stimuli over time.
So check. This is a real world example for you right here. I wouldn't
Okay.
have today. I would not have gone on the internet and looked up what determinism is, so that I wouldn't look like an idiot on this podcast and I knew what I was talking about. If it weren't for this podcast, and I guess my own, selfish desires.
Okay, let's
to not
take
look
that
like an idiot.
example though. You made the choice to do that.
He
You
didn't make the
have to
choice
do
to
But
that.
I
do
didn't
it.
though. Did I? Did I? Because I wouldn't have looked that up at any other point in my life.
If
really.
he didn't have the normative will in order to be looking things up
Yeah.
when he doesn't know what the answer is. So he has been pre-programmed from an early age to look things up when he doesn't know what it is.
Yeah. So that I
Therefore,
don't look
when he-
dumb. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Guys,
you
I
just,
think we're
you
missing
just
the
said,
point.
So, but you admit that there's normative will.
No, I'm still not admitting that there's agency. I'm saying that there's generally a confidence in which he is going to do this thing.
Yeah.
And he did it because of that general confidence.
But the
So there's
real
no-
issue
so-
here, Jake,
Yeah.
the real issue
Yeah,
here
yeah.
is that Will has not met Bale yet. And
That's
he's
true.
a goddamn hero. And it's a shame that we
true.
have yet to free Will.
Free will's on the back of that shirt.
Yeah,
right?
enjoy the good
Enjoy
times.
the good times by freeing will.
By freeing
which is
Will.
on the back.
must be freed.
Okay, hold on. So there's no agency then.
Probably not. No.
I feel like this is where you and I might differ a little bit in
I
this.
feel like
okay?
free will is basically just a super simplified extract of determinism, right? Because it's like if what you're saying is true, it's like everything is preconceived, but if you're to just like crop out all of those factors and just have it, sure, it's like the code. It's like learning how sausage is made, right? It's like
Yeah.
I want these 2 sausages, but
Sure. So, I mean, the determinism doesn't say that you need to behave as if there is no free will. It would drive you crazy, for one, because then you would just be nihilistic about every single individual thing. Like, what's the point of doing anything? Everything's been determined for me. But, I mean, it is, like, a factor that does start to, like, crop into people's lives when they have, like, less options. So, like being poor, for example. So, yeah, it's nice to think that we have free will, and that is in itself a chemical reaction that is predetermined, but unfortunately we do not.
That seems very conclusive on
Yep.
something that I don't think you can really determine with such accuracy.
Predetermined.
You were predetermined to think that in the morning.
That's why you can never win that argument though, and that's I don't know. I feel like that's my problem with it a little bit, because like there is like I don't actually believe that everything is predetermined. If there's only like one set path that you can go, unless
Okay.
that's not what you're
Okay,
saying
Matt,
either.
so then would you say that you do actions by random at any given point in time?
No, I guess my
Free
point
will
is
doesn't imply randomness, though.
Yeah, I
it
guess-
implies
Well,
agency.
It has to, or else you're like just factoring in preset factors.
Well, let's talk about the shirts, okay? Because
the free will shirts.
You have the black and the blue shirt and the black shirt.
speaking
You have the
of free
agency to
shirts,
determine which shirt you choose.
Will didn't have an extra
Stop
shirt. when he
that!
got-
Stop that! Ren.
So
God damn it, Ren.
things can factor in like what your favorite color is. Does it match this outfit? These are all factors that are already inside your brain from previous
Yes,
stimuli.
but you're choosing.
You're not
those
choosing
things.
Okay,
anything.
so how about this? I come to you and I have 2 different shirts. I have a red shirt and a blue shirt. Which one do you choose?
Probably the one that my brain says.
Which one? I
But
don't have
isn't
time
that
for
free
this.
will?
I'm trying to
Red
give you a
shirt or
shirt.
a blue shirt?
Yeah, which one do you want?
Yeah, we have to get Will a shirt. Okay, so probably a blue shirt.
Okay, I hand you the blue shirt. You just made the choice to choose blue based on all these inputs and variables going on behind the scenes that entice you to make that choice that you don't realize. But in the moment, you're not thinking about that, and you chose blue.
It doesn't matter if I'm thinking about it because it's still a chemical reaction that.
But your choice is agency.
It's not agency. It's the appearance of agency.
No, it manifests agency literally.
In this
like
scenario,
you have all these predetermined things that lead up to that
I only
choice,
have
and then
two
you make a
options,
choice.
right? So I still have less agency than if I had every shirt color.
I know, but that doesn't matter. It
does
just
matter.
The fact that you have a choice at all implies that you have agency. It necessitates.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, let's move on.
So well, hold on, real quick. Like, let's say in this scenario with the shirt thing, right? Will, right, who you're gonna give the shirt to because he doesn't have a shirt. The man needs a shirt. Get the man a shirt.
Yeah.
You know that Will likes blue, right?
Yep.
So that is a
Yeah.
predetermined thing that you have to
It's
make that
one
choice.
factor, yeah.
Right? That is one factor. That's an example of how it could be a predetermined thing that is not a choice because you're going to give that shirt to Will, and Will's going to get mad if he wears a red shirt. He's not a
Yeah.
red guy.
He's
It
gonna
doesn't
be
look
like,
good on him.
listen, if you don't give me the
but
right
you
shirt,
could
I'm just gonna
still make
stay
the
here in
choice
jail."
to give Will the red shirt.
No, you
What?
can't because all choices are just a cause and effect.
What's the difference between a choice and a decision?
Okay,
it's just a synonym.
listen. Just hear me out, because you keep shutting me down when I'm getting
Sure,
to my
sure.
point.
No,
okay?
yeah, go for it.
You're talking about all these inputs that go into the brain that are predetermined or preconceived, but then you take all of those, and from those inputs you extrapolate a decision based on those inputs. And the simple act of then taking the inputs and then adding to it and making another decision based upon those inputs is of the will. It's of the mind.
No, it's of
You're-
reasoning, which is still a function of your brain because it's a cause to effect. Previous stimuli have factored in A, B,
So
every
here's
factor.
here's another question then. Does that line of thinking mean that there's no such thing as a multiverse of possibilities?
That doesn't say that there's no multiverse. It just means that within the specific universe that we're in, that it's always going to be this factor.
Okay.
And in fact, it actually kind of strengthens multiverse because then, well, first of all, if we had agency, then every single individual choice that we make would create another multiverse constantly.
That's kind of what I always thought.
That's
it
true,
was.
though.
Well, if we had free will, but we don't. So
Okay.
Okay, you're just saying that, though. You're just saying it. And just because you're saying it doesn't necessarily mean it's
affirmed
true.
that we do have free will, though.
What's that?
You still haven't affirmed that we do.
I have. That was in my example. When you take all the inputs and then say you have a choice between the red shirt and the blue shirt for Will himself, and you choose the shirt for Will,
Our boy.
Free will.
that is the manifestation of choice, which is agency.
No,
You're taking
it's
all the things that you know,
it's
and
the
you're making a
manifestation
choice.
of rationale, which is a function of your brain.
It's not entirely a result of rationale, though, because you might choose to give Will the one shirt one day, and you might choose to give him a different shirt the next day, and that might be based upon the exact same factors.
Will only likes blue. He's not gonna like a red shirt one day. He's not just gonna be randomly like, yo,
So
actually,
The fact
blue
that I
shirt
can
now.
make a different choice from day to day doesn't preclude that I have free will. It just means that I'm going to make a different choice.
But if your choice is based entirely on rationale, then how do you explain that away?
Okay, Jake, here's an example. So let's say I have a machine that can reliably throw a ball. And I know that that machine is going to reliably throw the ball in the exact same spot every single time. So then I can extrapolate the trajectory of that ball every single time. Is
Yeah.
that not just going to be the same thing every time?
Well, it's like the sun rising.
But it's a mechanical reaction that is going to reliably happen every single time. Now,
Well, let's
extrapolate
take
that to every single
Yeah.
atom in your brain and how
Uh-huh.
it interacts, then it's going to be that.
Are we
But
talking like a perfect
your chemical reactions
yeah.
to
Well,
things
it's
that
like
happen
plus
around
or
you aren't the
minus
same
theoretically, yeah.
every time, though.
What?
You know,
I'm sorry.
your brain has chemical reactions, right? That make up
Yeah.
your response to all these things. The mixing of those chemicals and the reactions that result are not the same every time, even if the thing that you're basing the reaction on is the same, like the sun going around the earth every day.
Right, but that strengthens my argument because I'm saying that all choice or illusion of choice are chemical reactions from day to day, state to state, moment to moment.
Yeah, but that's just saying that. I don't understand like why
But
that's
you
all of a
haven't-
sudden
Okay, do you disagree with the notion
that
that the okay? So you have okay. This is like strict materialism, right? So the thought that all things are physical or chemical reactions with each other, or you have like this substance dualism kind of idea where your soul is doing like it is imparting its will upon the physical world, and then that is your choice. Like there's only really that in how like you can view it, because otherwise everything is just, you know, the pure physical interaction of your body and all other bodies in this world. So like, does your brain operate outside of the rules of physics, or no? Because if it does,
all
then
I'm
you
saying,
have free
all I'm
will.
saying is there's things about the brain that are certainly beyond humanity. I mean, the brain is built upon all these different hierarchies of evolution to begin with, right? And then there's things about our own brains that we don't even necessarily know.
Okay.
So I think to just write off that you have agency because there's the obviousness of things that are causes and effects doesn't necessarily explain the whole. That's all I'm saying.
And that is why
We must free will.
No,
We must
Right
free
in the
will.
middle. Right down the middle. Free will, baby.
that's better what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that's why I'm an engineer, not a philosopher.
Ah, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We could talk about that all day, but let's move on because we got plenty of topics. Okay, ready? War or peace?
War or peace. That's loaded.
What about some sort of hybrid?
No hybrids.
Only a
Ren,
little
go.
bit of war.
A sprinkling,
go.
a light dusting of war. Like
You
a
have to
seasoning.
choose.
A peppering.
So I'm gonna choose peace because that seems like the obvious answer. Obviously, I want peace. I don't want
Yeah.
war. But at the same time, war has been the biggest economic driver in developing technologies and furthering
Yeah.
the world's things.
And also,
know.
we live in a world where there is good and evil. And
Sure.
it's, you know.
That's a hard one. So like, obviously, the rule for me would be peace, because war is horrible and ruins entire nation states.
It's like an average Tuesday.
But I mean, as a utilitarian, I have to also state that there sometimes are benefits to one state over another because of war, but also generally it's bad.
So what is your deterministic viewpoint telling you to say
oh my
right
God, Jake.
I
Come
mean-
on.
My brain says peace.
Okay. So we got 2 for peace. Matt, what say
This
you?
is a ones and zeros podcast right here. Nowhere in the middle. Oh, peace. I love it. It's great.
All peace. Okay.
peace all the time,
right,
baby.
Well, I got to be the odd man out then and say war
I know you would. I figured you might.
for the sake of debate.
But
Sure,
but like the problem is,
sure.
I think, Jake, the problem is anything you say, I don't think I will disagree with it. So it's kind of like I don't know how to debate you on it. Because
Well, that's the fun of this, though.
for sure.
Okay,
just
so
along for the
I'm just
ride.
gonna tell you guys. I'm gonna tell you guys about a
Strap
little
in,
story.
boys.
Like-
I'm gonna tell you guys a war story. Okay.
Okay. Wow.
This one time
When you were
back in centuries ago,
Dude, I'm the only one who can say back in Nam.
back in
there was a tribe of people, and they were all at peace. Okay, and they were getting along, and everything was good. Okay, but then, boom, one of them decided to make war on another one, And from that, the entire circle of their peace was broken. And it all went away because they all realized that war could disrupt peace. But then, oh my God, what happened next? Could peace disrupt war? I don't know. I don't know.
Could it, Jake? Tell us. How does it end? How does the story end?
I don't know if it does end. But
Or is it just a perpetual peace war?
I would take Wren's argument though, and I would say that war has driven more technology than anything. Though it's hard to really advocate for war because it's you know I'm really just doing it as an argument, but I'm not.
I feel like we're also like when you pose it that way, war or peace. It's like, well, which one's worse? War.
Well, obviously,
war is worse than peace. Which one's better? But those
like,
questions weren't posed. It was just war or peace.
Yeah, I don't know how much I can like merit like, oh yeah, war sometimes good, but like you know, war has destroyed horrible ideologies.
Would you say that it's necessary though? Because that's the like I feel like at times in history it has been necessary.
I think it's the easy way out.
So I think there's a whole lot of wars, especially perpetrated by like the United States, that have been very, very deliberately trying to disrupt peace in other countries. So I mean,
yeah, well, there's also that happening against us too, all over.
True.
Humans
deliberate.
love
That doesn't
efficiency.
justify
They
anything.
love to do whatever they're doing the easiest way possible, and war is so much easier than peace.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah, that's a good succinct answer for it, I think.
Let me ask this: do you think we could have stopped Hitler without war?
No.
That's my thought.
No.
Damn, if I had a time machine and he was a baby.
Yeah, if only he was a
Could
baby.
Could you have prevented the Civil War without war?
Actually,
Oh god.
For the podcast number.
Could we have stopped Hitler without war?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one way would have been to dissolve treaties that would have created the entanglement in the first place. That would be done with diplomacy. But I mean, at the same time, he was like still killing like 12 million people aside from like the total like war costs. So, I don't know. You could probably CIA it, and
Yeah.
Isn't that form of aggression still a type of war?
I mean,
That
it's
is
more of,
war
like, an
though
intellectual
still,
war.
yeah.
It's
That's
more
what we
of-
did with Russia for
It's more
we
of
still
like a
do.
information war or like a battle, I guess, but like it's not like necessarily war.
If only we had drones back then.
Because then like all people would be at war at all times. If,
Drone strike Hitler.
Well, I think that's an important thing to point out, Nat, and that's like you know, even in the greatest wars that consumed the most lives and that were the most hazardous to humanity in total, not everyone was at war during those wars.
yeah.
And so, you know, there is a the thing is that it's not it's I know I'm posing this in like a by, you know, you're either one or the other manner, but you know, like war, just like peace, is a state of individual being,
Right.
and you can be at war with one and at peace with another at the same time.
Well, also how we view war is kind of like in this moralistic way that presumes like rightness based upon results. So like even then, like what we did to the Japanese was horrible,
Oh yeah.
and what the Japanese did to the Chinese was horrible, and what the Germans did to literally everyone was horrible. And so I mean, there's no like positive answers there. Like it seems like I mean, I don't want to like do equivocation because that would be horrible. Like that just doesn't stand. Like the United States was not worse than Germany.
Yeah.
But it also creates scenarios in which like when you justify everything, you've lost like parts of your morality, and that's just like how war like breaks down like moral systems in general. Like so
Yeah.
it's worse than like just like simply the deaths. It's also what it does to your moral systems and everything that you believe, and how you rationalize things. So
Yeah, it creates
peace is
the
going to be
whole
better for me no matter.
the whole anything in this is enemy versus But that it's I think it's a human issue. I mean, like obviously there's other animals that fight and cause war on one another, but like the complexity of it, I think, is inherent to humanity itself. I don't know if it's something we'll ever escape. I think there will always be forms of warfare amongst humans, as long as we are a species, because that's the way that we are.
I mean, even debate is a form of warfare, depending on how you look at it.
No,
Well, I would say
don't
war
agree.
rises to the level of actual violence with the intent of murder. I
Okay.
think, though.
No, I mean, I agree
like
with that. I was
the
just
the intent of
talking about
death.
pointing out
meant
that it's
murder's
like-
a separate
are we-
thing. But
at what
Sherlock
point,
Holmes.
at what threshold is aggression become war?
Like language can
when you
be
stab
like
some
because you can
guy.
have like
language can be
probably.
violent. It just can't be. It's
Okay,
not
fair enough.
necessarily war. Like
language can incite violence. Language itself isn't violent.
okay,
Sure.
so Jake, okay, let's say like I recruit like a bunch of people like to kill you. And I'm like up to the point at which you get stabbed is not violence. Like no, it's
I feel like
violence.
the act though. The
Well,
act
no,
of,
there's
like,
an actual
recruiting
distinction there. I think like it's not self-evident that like words are violence. Like that's why words and violence are two separate things. Words can incite violence. If you use words to hire a bunch of people to come after me, then those would be words. That they could still be illegal. They could still be prohibited. But at a certain point, it would rise to a level of violence, and that would be the threshold between violence and words.
So what about the Cold War? There was no violence there.
Oh, there was.
I mean, okay,
There was-
sure, but overall, there was no like troops on the ground. There wasn't any like battles in the Cold War.
Well, that's why we
It was
call
all
that's why
just,
we
like,
call it the
high
Cold
level-
War, and that's why we use the term proxy wars. I mean, Vietnam was a proxy war between Russia and the United States.
Okay, fair, yeah.
well, it was actual war too.
But there was war, there was violence, and there was warfare going on.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like the idea behind war is that there's a winner unless it's a stalemate. But like I guess that's going back to what I was saying about debates is that in a debate usually there's like a winner and it's gamified in the sense that like you're trying to beat the opponent, and in war that because war isn't just violence. Violence is just nebulous thing, right? Whereas war is very like targeted violence.
Also, there's violence that doesn't specifically involve like physical interaction upon a person. Like so if I'm doing something like political violence, which is violence, then I'm still doing violence. But
What do you mean by political violence?
Okay, so political violence is an inaction upon somebody else with the implicit threat that if they do not do it, then they are subject to violence. So it is still in itself a form of violence. It's just that the choice, I mean, that's all in quotes, the choice to do it is effectively null. So
Well, I guess what I'm saying is
so
is-
if I say like, hey, convert religions or die, I'm still doing like a violent thing if they conform to my will.
Well, once you commit the violence, you're committing the violence, right? Like it's before that, we combine it
No.
with another word to imply that it's quasi.
Yeah,
that,
which is
like
why we use the
political
term political violence.
versus just violence.
So is a threat not violence?
I think a threat is violence. I think
Well-
in itself a threat has to be considered violence because like otherwise, like is it not
Really?
like aggression? Yeah, of course it's violence.
I think that's a bit of a slippery slope. I think because if you imply that everything that is not the physical harm of another against their will is violence, then you can say like almost anything that leads to that is violence, which isn't the case because there's reduction factors that can happen before that time, so like if to take political violence for an example, if I say, or religious violence, like in the context that you're saying, like if I say convert to my religion or you will die, that is a threat of violence, but it is not the actual act of violence yet. It has not arisen to that yet. That's how
no,
I think
disagree
those
with
words
that.
actually serve that particular purpose when we apply them in our speech. Like that's why we would need to create some sort of quasi term like religious violence or political violence or threat prior to the actual act of violence.
So I disagree with this premise because there's like multiple forms of violence that have been enacted upon people that have been political in nature, but have mostly just displaced people or disenfranchised people, and those in themselves are like under duress of like being killed. So like Native Americans being shipped across the country like is a form of violence. Like it's the Trail of Tears is violence. I mean, it was explicit violence, but it was also political violence. I don't know, people trying to form like ethno states that's violence. They say that there's like the option to leave, but
Well,
like,
I guess
that's still,
I guess
talking
what
about
I'm
traumatic
what I'm
acts,
trying
so-
to get to is if you think about, to go back to the war word, at the actual, everyone would generally agree like the definition of war is organized combat against, two organizational units against one another. Maybe it happens at the individual level, maybe it happens at a group level, what have you. But in that, and when we talk about winners and losers in war, you talk about life and death, right? This is whoever is able to kill versus be killed is the definition of who wins that war in the most specific sense of what the act is. And so I guess what I'm saying is we should be mindful about the words that we use when they're not necessarily tied directly to that life and death act one to one. When we cross the physical threshold, I'm just saying it's a natural threshold within the context of language to identify like words like violence and things like that. Now, I'm not saying that the Trail of Tears didn't have actual violence, or that you couldn't necessarily describe the activities that happened there as violent. But there's also other words for it too, like you said,
which is why
you
I'm
used some other
using-
words like
I'm using political violence.
disenfranchisement and undermining and things like that are also accurate words to describe the things that happened there.
You're right, Jake. I choose peace.
Peace all the way,
Peace
right?
all the
Jake?
way.
You nailed it.
Okay.
But I guess the point
Right.
there is just like, we should like categorize violence, or we should
Yeah,
at least like
which
have.
is why there's like specific
Yeah, there should
like
be specific.
categorizations of what kind of violence or like political violence is in itself like a totally separate like distinct violence from like
Yeah.
physical violence.
Yeah.
Like violence is there's a book called Violence if you want to read it.
Wow.
It's fantastic.
How
But, like,
That's
how
really on the
does
nose.
how is the word violence interpreted?
On Wikipedia.
It says it's got a couple different ones. Let's see. First one, noun,
The Webster's
behavior
definition
involving
of
physical force intended to hurt, damage, or kill someone or something. Here's another one, strength of emotion or an unpleasant or destructive natural force. And then in law, the unlawful exercise of physical force or intimidation by the exhibition of such force. So seems like it obviously trends towards that line of physical force. But it's actually vehement is actually part of the word in Latin. That's interesting.
wow.
Well, that was a good one.
What's the next one?
What do
The
you
next
have
one.
next for us, Jake?
Okay, nature versus nurture. Okay, and let's make sure that we don't get back into free will and determinism.
Yeah.
But nature versus nurture.
I can give you the definition of determinism though. Now. I looked it up.
I looked it up. Did
I
you
looked
look it up?
I didn't look up nurture, so I gotta
This
hold on.
is-
Let me
this
get
is
my-
This is a hard one because prominent psychologists all agree that it's a mix of both factors. So it's
Human animal hybrid.
I guess, yeah, I guess
He's the worst.
recognizing that if you had to pick one as the ultimate force in the universe, which one would you pick?
nurture probably.
Okay. Wren?
Call
Matt?
of Duty.
Ren, that's not one of the options. Come on, are you paying
you're
attention?
Right. You thought I would have learned by now.
Come on, man.
We're not talking about COD.
Get your head in the game, bro.
Yeah.
So nature implies some sort of like higher force, right?
Well, what would you
Versus-
say is the most
Nature.
influential force in the universe, nature or nurture?
Well, I imagine there's probably a lot more nature than nurture in the universe.
Oh, that's a good point. That nurturing is part of nature.
That's true. See, that's true.
Well,
Okay,
you've
I've
convinced me.
changed my answer.
You convinced me now.
What about you, Matt? What do you say?
Well, I mean, Nat just convinced me that it was definitely nature, because it's the same with robots and
Nurture
humans,
is
man.
part of nature.
Humans made robots. Nature makes nurture. You can't have one without the other. You know,
That's
chicken
true.
and egg.
I'd have to go with nurture on this one, because thinking about it that way, you think about even in the natural world, there's all this nurturing that has to take place in order for the natural world to even exist in the first place, right? Like a bear cub needs to be nurtured in order to understand how to survive in the natural world.
Yeah, but that bear cub wouldn't have been born if it weren't for nature.
For nature, that's true.
So,
But even the process of the bear cub being brought to birth in like the mammalian womb is a process of nurture.
chicken and egg. I feel like this is a chicken and egg deal, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know, guys.
I wonder
This
what
one's
a bear
tough.
would look like if it was.
Where
born in outer
where do we draw?
space.
Here's a question within this. Where do we draw the line where nurture? Like if you talk about the Big Bang Theory, where did
cares?
nurture
I was about to say.
begin in that process?
Uh,
Was it at the same time?
it's to presume a beginning, but
Were those atoms nurturing? Were they rubbing up against each other? And
our
all?
entire concept of what nurturing is socially constructed from just the things that we do in nature. So it's kind of
Really?
yes.
That seems like a I don't know. I don't know.
It's a pretty
I
big
haven't thought about it
statement, man.
enough to
Pretty
be
bold
like.
statement.
But that seems like a big statement. That our entire concept of nurture is based on social construct. What about like the
Well,
way
I mean,
that?
Okay, so there's some like parents, I guess, that use negative reinforcement to raise their children.
Parents.
Yeah. And then there's also parents that use positive reinforcement, but both of those things are what we would call nurturing a child in some way. But they're both like at odds with each other. So those are both like socially constructed ideas of how to nurture a child.
I mean, they didn't give Will a pillow in the jail cell, so he doesn't get any nurturing.
Yeah, he needs nurturing at the gym.
Yeah.
Free will.
I don't know if they're necessarily at odds with each other all the time. I think sometimes they work in together.
In tandem,
they work,
yeah.
Yeah, in tandem, I think. Because if you were positively reinforcing a child only, that might not address like some of their some of their faults. It might create some faults. Just as the same time
Sure.
as
I
if
think-
you were
I think
constantly
I'm-
negatively reinforcing a child, it
So I
would
think
certainly
I'm-
do the
I'm
opposite.
mixing up like positive like results versus like positive actions, because positive actions are just like any action that like adds, versus like negative reinforcement is to take something away. So what I'm speaking more of is like parents who do what we consider like negative things to their child versus like parents who do like more like open or like positive things, right? So those
Okay.
are both nurturing, but they're in their way, like they're dialectical from each other. They're
Let's do an example.
so they're socially constructed ideas of what
I got an example. What if you have
Okay.
like really angry breakup sex or something, and you get pregnant? And then you have the baby, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you're like,
Uh-huh.
oh, I got to give this baby up. That's not very nurturing, I don't think. It's more nature. That's full blown nature to me.
That's also like what nurture would be in the argument, because there is a lack thereof. And
Oh, you're
therefore
saying-
and that's
But she's-
that's what the
But
nature
that baby
versus
still
nurture-
grows up though, right?
right.
But I guess what you're saying is zero
But-
nurturing is still a form of nurturing.
in the example provided, yes. Or I mean, in like the conversation of what is nature versus nurture, yes.
Hmm.
What about like
it's
what
the-
about like what about like when to talk about the positive versus negative reinforcement of a child thing? Like what about if you deny a child, like say like you can't have this until you finish your dinner, like a very classic example, like that's negative reinforcement.
Yeah, it's just negative reinforcement.
To get them to a point where you can then use positive reinforcement. So is it positive or negative reinforcement? Because it's the delay. What you're trying to say is like you got to finish your dinner, then you get your snack, right? And then
is what it has to do with nature versus nurture, because in nature versus nurture, the argument is over the resultant like example of a human being, how they came to where they are right now, how they came to here, whether it be by their like genetic or like metaphysical nature, or how a village raised them, nurture. So how a child is raised is not necessarily anything but just like considered nurture in that example. So it's irrelevant to the question, unfortunately.
Well, there's also okay. So the way, you are like a biological being, and that is nature,
Yeah.
right? So we can't deny that. Like
Sure.
it's not all nurture.
We're all space dust.
We're all just space dust out here.
Well,
floating
okay. So
around.
is the question someone's innate biology versus the way that they were raised?
I believe there wasn't an actual question.
Yeah, there
that
wasn't
was
an actual
posed.
question. I just
Yeah,
wanted to
it's a
debate the
hard
merits
debate to have
of
when,
either.
It's just like nature or nurture. Like, what does that mean?
Which one
that's
has more
that's what
letters?
we're talking about. Okay. Anyway, here's a good one. Here's a fun one. Okay. This is kind of my concluding one here.
Ooh.
Clothing or nakedness?
I'm not gonna do it. I wasn't gonna do it. I almost did it.
Matt, you seem like
Nick-
you're in
naked
favor
all
of
the
one
way,
party.
baby.
Naked all the way?
No, clothes do so much for you. They protect
True.
you, like, from the elements. I feel like it's an important thing that we, as like, evolved humans that have shed our layers of fur,
Yeah.
I feel like we need it to survive in this harsh environment of
Just true.
Isn't that how clothes
yeah.
were first invented as a form of protection, like thousands of years
Yeah.
ago?
I
It's
feel like
wow,
we kind of
this
figured
ground
it
is
out. We were
really
like,
hot,
yeah.
But if I put this form of skin between my butt and the ground, it's not as hot. It is
Yeah.
also eventually turned into a form of expression.
yeah.
So I'm clothing all the way.
I'm clothing all the way.
Oh man, I thought one of you guys was at least gonna be naked.
Sorry,
I
Jake.
guess
Jake,
I'll,
you know
I'll
what?
Sorry,
go
Jake. I
naked.
almost did it for
You
you.
gotta
I
go
almost
naked
did.
right now.
I'll
You
go
have to-
naked.
you have to
All right, let me
play
give
the
you
card.
some arguments.
Come on,
for
E-Jake.
naked.
Let's get the nudist argument from Jake.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get your
first of all,
OnlyFans. Where is it?
we were born naked. So what does that tell you?
Dude, I was born in a suit and tie.
That's true.
Unless you're John Henry, in which case you were born with a hammer in your hand. But naked is how we were born. So there's that. I mean, right away, the universe is telling us, hey, you should probably be naked. We weren't born with clothes on. And then second of all,
Is it the
think of-
naturalistic fallacy or the naturistic fallacy? Hey-oh!
Hey!
How dare
Second
you
of
make
all,
jokes at a time like this? Will
think
is still
about
in
all
prison.
the fun
And
times
he doesn't
we
have a
had
shirt. He
naked.
needs a shirt.
Yeah, he's naked right now,
Get
but he
that
doesn't
man a
want to be
shirt.
because he chose clothing.
Think about all the fun things that have happened while you were naked.
I've changed my mind, Jake.
More than when I'm clothed. That's for sure.
And in order to make more naked babies, you have to, well, you don't have to be naked, but it's a lot easier if you're naked.
Yeah,
Certain parts have to be naked.
for sure. But is that naked then? What's the definition of naked? Is like
Also, why is
genitals?
everyone always obsessed with trying to get people naked? It's like no one's ever encouraging you to put more clothes on.
That's true.
It's like
guess you're right.
everyone everywhere is constantly like, take it off, right? So
yeah, Mardi Gras,
I mean, yeah, it's like it's almost like there's an inherent desire of human beings to be naked. rather than to have clothes
But that's
on.
more. I feel like maybe that's like constructed from now we are all clothed and we're all like hidden. You know.
But who
So
wants
it's
to be
like-
naked? Sorry, when they're not in their safe space. You know,
Uh,
you only want to get naked.
have
in
you
a
been to
safe space.
Bourbon Street?
I mean, have you seen a
I was
streaker?
way too young when I was there.
Because a streaker certainly
too,
isn't in their
honestly.
safe space. When you get naked and run across a football field, you're certainly not in your safe space.
You're damn right.
So
Have you done that, Jake?
I mean, most people aren't. Most people aren't.
Wait, Jake, have you done that?
Jake, have you done
Jake,
Have you done the
answer
streaking?
question.
No, I haven't. I've never streaked.
Oh man,
Yeah,
this
no.
podcast was just
I'm
getting
the only
good.
one?
that? Yeah, we're just
Come
like,
on.
just like, oh man,
Cancel
let's get
this
into
whole
Jake's
fucking
like
thing now.
really fun past.
Yeah. Well,
I
have.
mean, I was a cross country runner, and that's basically like running around naked.
Yeah.
But you still have shorts on. You still have shorts that are about this big.
I did lock my friend out of the house naked once. He was like changing, and we locked him out of the house, and he had to run around the house completely
God.
nude.
Oh my god.
It was
There you
it was
go.
I think the worst thing I've done to a friend in my
You
life.
did it intentionally?
Oh yeah, intentionally. Yeah.
I'm
Really?
sure this was when you were a young man.
Yes. Yeah. Young
Yeah.
and dumb. Yeah.
Yeah,
About a year ago.
That's the only acceptable time. About 6 months ago.
Yeah, about 6 months, a year.
when
something
you were
like that.
young and naive.
Something
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Those
Something
were the good
there.
old days.
Well, we all know the arguments for clothes. Obviously, you get a bunch of utility out of them. You can stylize and fashionize yourself with them, right?
Yeah.
You can do that.
Do they
but-
have any other purpose other than utility and expression?
utility and expression other than that? I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think if it came down to those two things, I don't think we'd wear clothes. But maybe you could make an argument, and there is an argument out there, that there is a sense of what do you call it? Like exposure, in the sense that when you're naked, all of your weaknesses are metaphorically and physically, like, you are weaker than another person who has clothes on, because obviously you're exposed.
Damn,
So-
have you seen Terry Crews?
Nudists believe the opposite, though, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
What do they say? Maybe we should switch on this.
Generally, nudists do like have like recreational clubs. I think that's how they generally do that. But their opinion is that when you are free of clothes, then you are on equal footing with every single other person, because you cannot tell anybody's class.
Yeah.
But also that you feel like this kind of like freedom from. Like,
Well, I think maybe that's the same thing, though, because like if everyone is naked together, then we're all exposing our physical and metaphorical weaknesses to each other,
right.
and I think that's kind of the same thing. Wow. So three for clothes, me for nakedness. I guess I'll be the nudist to the
Naked
group.
You'll be naked Jakey for us.
Yeah. No worries.
Naked Jacob.
All right. Well, that was fun. Does anyone have any other?
On that note,
Does anyone have any others? Any other classic debates we should leave for
man.
next time?
A question as old as time. One will XR or pint?
Ooh.
I mean,
That is
for
a
you
good
guys, it's
one.
the XR
Yeah, I
all
guess
day,
Yeah,
right?
I was just.
There's not even
I
a
just wanted to say the word one wheel
Yeah,
somehow,
yeah,
and
yeah.
there's no debate here.
drop
It's-
one wheel.
Every
the
time he
XR
says
all the
that,
way.
he gets paid $15.
Dude,
Yeah.
I wish.
Well,
dude, honestly, if
yeah,
they paid me
I'll make
every
an
time I
argument
said
for
that,
a pint.
I'd
I'll make an
retire.
argument for a pint, just for the sake of it.
That's what he does.
It's cheap. If it's cheaper,
It is cheaper.
it's easier to carry. Not
The
that
best
you
one
want to
wheel
be
is the
carrying
one that you
it.
can afford.
Yeah, the best one wheel is the one that I don't crash horribly from, which is none of them. So
Yeah,
still waiting.
and that's kind of your answer's inherent to like which one's better, because the one you can afford, like, obviously you're gonna want the XR, but at the same time, if you're just starting out, maybe the pint. But at the same time, if you're looking at it long term, then I gotta say XR.
I think we're all
Obviously.
trying to rationalize our purchases.
yeah,
Yeah.
There you
But
have
I
it.
rationalized that a long time ago.
Yeah.
Why did I spend $2,000
No
on this
regrets.
thing? Oh man, it's got to be better.
$1,000 in repairs since then.
Yeah.
I know how you feel.
Hey,
Not
Ren,
about
tell
one
us
wheel,
about your
but-
fall. Ren, can we wrap this up by you telling us about your fall?
Oh, yeah. So I don't know if you saw it earlier, but I dipped my head back and I cannot lift my head right now. I literally cannot lift my head. I have whiplash in my
You just
neck.
pulled your hat.
I literally
to,
just pulled my hat
to lift your head.
my
You had to use your
This is the
hands
second
to.
time you've like hurt your neck in the past 2 weeks. Because you also
Oh, that's
ran
right.
straight into that.
We haven't
bench.
talked about that. I clotheslined myself. I'd rather talk about that than my one wheel fall I had yesterday falling off a
Oh,
rock.
your
Wait, do
neck
I have
was
that on
screwed.
GoPro?
You should. My
Yeah.
camera was rolling when I did that.
I
So
hope we do.
Post it
filmed
on
that
the
at
internet.
We
SC
do.
Village. We did some airsoft games out there a week and a half ago at this point, and I was running along and I didn't see this yellow rope. It wasn't very big, but maybe like a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch thick, strung across at about neck height, and it literally took me off my feet. I was running and it hit my neck and I had too much momentum to stop, and it literally lifted me off my feet, and then I dropped down onto it using just my chin and eventually slid off of it, and it left me with this huge scab across my Adam's apple here on my neck, and it literally it's only just now started to go away. You can still kind of see a red mark here,
Yeah.
but the scab has gone away. It was a really weird scab.
Straight up cartoon
It was
shit.
it was the most intense rug burn.
Yeah.
It was a rope burn. You know,
Wow.
it wasn't quite
Ugh.
like bleeding, but it was like super gnarly red, and it got I got this really thick scab for a week there, and it was
Wow.
really really weird.
Damn.
Is it
I'll have
gone
to
now?
post
Is
that
the
on
scab
internet.
gone?
We should put that
Yeah,
on the
it's
note
manda-
Instagram,
manda-
maybe.
You know, the stuntmen, they say if somebody injures themselves on camera,
Yeah.
you have to use the
You have
tape.
to use it. Have to.
There you go. Yeah, put that one in. Put that at the beginning of the next Stuntman react.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally forgot about that because my
So
injury
what do you
yesterday
think's
on my
going
one
on
wheel-
here? How do you think they did this? Looks like a guy that ran into a rope.
Man,
don't know.
I think he just went for it,
think
man.
he's on a
You
wire.
know,
Full send.
He just went on it. Full send, bro.
You see the way he falls? He's got to be on a wire. There's no way somebody would run
No,
into
no,
a rope
no,
that
dude.
hard.
That's got to be real. That's got to be real. There's no way. You just can't do that, any other way. That
Well,
SC Village Day, by the way, was so much fun.
It's cool.
That was
yeah.
that was a blast.
It's pretty fun. I love
Yeah.
shooting out there.
Always a good time.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that place is gold, and I can't wait to get back there next time I'm back in LA.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me. This was fun, and I hope it spurs on many positive and productive conversations in your own life. So
Chicken versus egg.
Thank you.
Which one? What
Put
do
it
you
in
guys
the
think?
comments. We have no free
Lizard.
will.
That's my man. That's my boy right there.
all right, till next time.
Peace.
See ya.